Hey, good afternoon. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Mark Winters with Rowe-Thrush. For those of you not familiar with Rowe-Thrush, Rowe-Thrush is a manufacturer's representative that specializes in Grainger, providing sales, marketing, and business development services. Today, we represent over 60 brands sold by Grainger in various product categories, such as lighting and electrical, plumbing, HVAC and refrigeration, material handling, safety and security, hand tools, janitorial, raw materials, packaging supplies, law enforcement, and public safety. Today, we're proud to represent Louisville Ladder and welcome Tom Muller and Tom Kessler to this live stream interview.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
So Tom Kessler is the new national sales manager at Louisville. He will be responsible for the Grainger account going forward. Tom, please tell us how long you've been with Louisville and share your background prior to joining Louisville.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Again, my name's Tom Kessler. I've been with Louisville Ladder all of just about 2 weeks. New to Louisville, but not new to Grainger. You know, I come from Bosch, where I worked for almost 15 years, and I've had a lot of experience with Grainger. So you guys may have even met me already, maybe at a show, an in-market day or something like that. As far as my responsibilities, together with Mark and Rowe-Thrush, I have responsibility for the corporate relationship with Grainger, but I also have responsibility for all of our field people around the country. So I encourage you guys to reach out to them because they're there to help you guys. That's kind of just a little bit about me. Now I'll turn it over to the man of the hour, the other Tom Muller.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mark. I've been here for 15 years at Louisville Ladder. Prior to that, I worked for the other major supplier in ladders at Grainger as well for about 10 years. So basically for the better part of the last 25 years, been exposed to ladders in one way or another. With that said, my responsibility here is primarily field support. I've been doing that ever since I've been here with Louisville, and I'm responsible for setting the show. So a lot of you guys, if you've been to the shows, I've had interaction probably with most of you there as well. But that's my background.
All right, so let's get into this presentation here. So March is Ladder Safety Month, but Louisville Ladder is obviously focused on employee safety, improving productivity, and OSHA compliance year-round. So Tom, can you tell us, why does ladder safety matter to Grainger customers?
Yes, Mark, ladder safety is really important, visible on a lot of their customers' minds. And one of the things when we talk about ladder safety, we want to point out what's relevant and make yourself relevant in those conversations. So when we do so, we really want to start kind of with OSHA. And OSHA rates incidents two different ways. They rate them number of occurrences per year, and then they rate those occurrences per dollars. And on the number of occurrences per year, typically we're number, 5 to 6, somewhere in there. It fluctuates between the two, but it's very constant. And then on the dollar per year, we're always in the top 5, with the average claim being $80,000. And these figures come from the Department of Labor and Statistics. So it's not subject to just Louisville, it's subject to the category. So with that being said, it's high visibility and high frequency. So you're going to be able to make yourself relevant in regards to your conversations when you have it. So in regards to the safety, it's really a 3-prong approach, Mark. I'm going to call it an acronym, TIA, TIA, meaning train, inspect, and assess. And so to your point, why do we train or why do we inspect? Both of those the answer is exactly the same. It's because you have to. OSHA states that you have to train and you have to inspect your ladders. So we utilize the Climb Academy for training, Mark, and we can go into that a little bit detail later in the slide. But it's a training module, and OSHA will accept that as their training. Secondly, on inspection, a lot of people think that, they inspect their ladders once or twice a year, that they're fine. But I just want to make sure that we point out about inspections. OSHA requires that you inspect that ladder prior to every use. As a matter of fact, when we do ladder inspections ourselves, we won't tag a ladder good. We will certainly tag them out of service if it's missing a label or something along those lines, but we will never tag one as being good, because if somebody goes to use that ladder and they see a good tag on it, there's a good chance they're going to forego their own inspection and not look at that ladder. So kind of a worded answer, but it gets you there.
Definitely. All right. So one quick reminder, anybody in the audience, if you have questions as we're going through this conversation, definitely don't hesitate to throw those in the chat on LinkedIn, and we'll pop them up on the screen to get you answers to your questions. So Tom, let's start getting into how Louisville Ladder can help the Grainger sales force. So if I'm a Grainger seller, what should I be looking for to identify a ladder opportunity? And what are some Louisville products that offer solutions to the key customer business issues?
Yes. So again, as mentioned earlier about making yourself relevant, I certainly gave you some talking points. When you come into somebody, you're going to have their mind and their focus, because when you mention those statistics to them, it's going to resonate with them. It's not like it's made up. Chances are they've had a compliance issue, they've had a fine, or they've actually had an accident within their workplace, somebody actually getting hurt. And all of these will ring, bells to them in regards to, cost exposures. And so some of the things that we want to focus in on is not necessarily the doom and gloom on the safety aspect of somebody being hurt. Obviously, those are out there, but we also want to talk about the compliance issues too. So anytime that we are able to provide a tool that helps remove the opportunity for somebody either having a compliance issue or actually getting hurt, in an accident, that is a good scenario. So the cross-step ladder is one of those solutions. What you're going to notice in this slide here, you're going to notice a traditional step ladder in the frame on the left-hand side. And this is something that people do in a daily basis. Matter of fact, if you kind of look in the foreground, you're going to see some more ladders leaned against the wall. That's actually no-nos as well, because they're going to be climbed. You're not supposed to climb a traditional step ladder in a leaning position. And the reason for that is the ladder can simply kick out. With that being said, when you look at the ladder on the right, that is compliant. And when you look at the ladders, they're very, very similar looking, but you would ask yourself, why you can lean one versus the other. And Mark has got highlighted here. You're going to notice that the top being a V-channel top, to where it can go against an interior corner, an exterior corner, but that's also going to help from it kicking out. But also the shoes are a little bit different on that ladder too. So the other thing, what I want to point out, we're going to show some a little bit further down, is how it's constructed. And what we're showing here is, if you look at the picture where you notice the rear legs going up underneath the top cap, in the picture that Mark's got, you'll notice how it attaches to the front rail. Well, that's going to do two things for us. The first thing it's going to do is, when you open that ladder, it's going to reduce the size of the footprint. So you're going to be able to get a lot closer to what you're working on. And then the second issue is, Mark, if you want to focus in on the clips here help keep the ladder together. And there's one on each side of that ladder. So you're going to have two of them. That's going to keep the ladder from opening up and helping to keep it from kicking out. And what's really nice about that particular product is if one of them breaks, the ladder is still compliant. So you're going to have a kind of a dual approach to that. And those are replaceable should they break. I've seen very few that break. We've had that ladder out for about 4 years now, and I've seen very few of them break. But I did want to point out, when I was at the show just a couple of weeks ago, the ladder in that left-hand picture, that's our number one selling ladder. It's Grainger's number one selling ladder. And the number two is actually that version in an 8-foot. And I did not show either one of those products at the show. And you'll say, well, you're a ladder manufacturer and you don't show your number 1 and 2 and Grainger's number 1 and 2 selling item. What's the disconnect there? Well, the fact of the matter is that's in decline. The cross-step ladder, because of education processes like we're doing today and a better educated end user, we are actually seeing decline in those sales. So the cross-step is going to outpace the traditional step ladder. Currently, it's roughly 40% is what it's dinged that step ladder. So that's just a one opportunity that we have available to us for compliance issues. Okay, here's another one. In the visual on the top left, you're going to notice, again, that same ladder that you saw previously. That's a traditional step ladder. And you're going to notice two people on this ladder. That is another finable OSHA violation and a compliance issue. And it gives you opportunity. So one of the things I neglected to address was the assessment part. I gave you the train and inspect. Coming back to the assessment, and this will be something that we focus in on as well, is when you do an assessment, it's basically you can go through a plant and look how people are using ladders, much like this here. If I was able to see this, I'd say, okay, that's an opportunity for me to give them a different product, or perhaps somebody may be stepping on the top of a ladder. But a lot of times where I actually go is I'll say, let's start in the damaged good area. And the reason I do that is because there's a lot of times when I'm looking at those ladders, I can see particular things in the ladders that guys may be doing. And in particular, in this situation, chances are somebody's climbing the backside of the ladder. It's going to be dinged up or dented or banged up, and it's going to give me an opportunity to say, hey, somebody's probably been on the backside, and it gives me opportunity. So the opportunity here is actually a twin step ladder, and it's a ladder that can be climbed from both sides. It can also maintain two people. In this particular one, it's 300-pound ladder, and it's 300-pound ladder per side at the same time. So two people application, and to help prevent accidents as well. Again, just another opportunity.
So instead of the thin rail like this on the back, you basically have 3-inch steps on each side of the ladder for a twin step ladder, right?
That's correct. And we actually do that on purpose too. When you look at that thin one, we don't want people on the backs there. So if somebody is actually on the back of a step ladder, it's going to be uncomfortable for them. And that'll help prompt them to not be on there to begin with. But the twin step ladder will be a lot more comfortable. And yes, it will have a full set of complemented steps.
And then the twin step also has labels that basically show it's approved for climbing on both sides, correct?
That's correct. It will certainly have visuals on that and give you instruction that, that yes, that ladder is good for 300 pounds per side at the same time.
Okay. And then one of the things you mentioned during the inspection and assessment was the ladder labels. Does Louisville sell replacement labels?
Yes, labels are certainly available. Granger has quite a few of them available through their site. And that's one of the most overlooked components, but OSHA does require that every ladder have its labels. And we actually have a secondary process. Mark, if you can actually zoom in on the top of that cross step that you have there, I want to show the heat stamp on there. And what we're going to see here is actually, you can see the duty rating on that ladder. All of our tops are going to be heat stamped, so you can see it 300 pounds. That's another fallback on the label if it happens to be out of compliance and you that is still visible. It still helps keep your ladder compliant with code. So that's just another backup that we offer to identify that ladder.
All right.
Okay. Here's another opportunity. Guys, one of the things that we discussed earlier was the cross step in its declined sales. This in the step ladder on its implication on the step ladder line, the platform ladder is also really impacting this step ladder decline as well. The cross step ladder, as cool as it is, you can still get to the top step, which is another compliance issue. Even though it does solve some compliance issues, it doesn't solve all of them. Because you can get to the top step, But here's an application where you can see a guy in the picture on the left. He's on the top step of the ladder. Obviously, that's a no-no. And you remove the opportunity for a guy to go to the top 2 steps. So what do? You go into a platform ladder. A platform ladder, as you can see on the picture on the right, it's removed the top 2 steps, and it does not allow somebody to go there. So again, if you're in a safety coordinator, you know your guys leaning ladders, you give them a cross step, it removes it. You know your guys are putting 2 people on a ladder when they shouldn't. It gives you an opportunity to give them a twin step ladder to make them more compliant. This is just another example in the line of things. Remove the opportunity for them to do something that they shouldn't be doing. Now I want to take this one a step further. This particular product is getting a lot more interest. And guys, we're all sales guys, and this will be the tougher one because from a pricing aspect, it's typically about, I would say, 25 to 35% more. So it's a harder sale. However, when you equate that over $1,000 spend, you're looking $250, $350. So if you've removed a compliance issue, like the guy stepping on the top of that ladder, that's a $1,500 fine, and it's per occurrence. You're actually saving them some money in the long run. So it's just how you look at that. And we've actually done very well with communicating this through some of the Grainger platforms as well. But the platform ladders continues to be a driving factor. One of the things that I actually brought up was the job site over in Las Vegas, the new Raider Stadium. That stadium, the contractor said no step ladders on that project at all. They all had to be platform ladders, and the one on the right is what it was spec'd into that site. So we are seeing a lot more attention on the platform ladders from a safety aspect.
Very cool. So the top 2 steps get removed. So on a standard step ladder, right, you've got the warning label that says do not climb above this step. The platform ladder just removes that step entirely and replaces it with a larger, more comfortable platform that also reduces fatigue. So you got to think that improves productivity.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, Tom. I was watching TV last night and I saw on the episode somebody was standing on the top step like that, and all I could do was one of these. And I was thinking, well, at least there was one person on each side of the ladder holding it in place.
Well,
if he falls off, he's going to knock somebody over.
We do take it very seriously. It's funny you see different things, and as a ladder manufacturer, we notice a lot. So 2 years ago, Tom Brady posted a image, or actually Giselle posted an image of him on one of our ladders. But again, he was on the incorrect step and using it incorrectly. And we wound up sending him a platform ladder with his name on it, New England Patriots at the time, and sent it to Kraft. And we did actually receive a response back from Giselle saying that we appreciate the effort in keeping her husband safe. So,
that's awesome.
that was, but again, just from something like you see, you see it on TV and some of the opportunities. So that was one.
All right, good stuff. So a quick recap here. Ladders consistently among the top 10 product categories for OSHA violations and fines. All of the product solutions that we're highlighting in this particular discussion are currently available through Grainger. Louisville offers a free ladder safety training program, which we will talk about in more detail in a few minutes. And then Louisville also offers lots of enhanced content, like the flyer shown on the left side of this slide, to highlight some of these common stepladder mistakes that Tom talked about. We also have product videos, application images, product documentation on all of our product pages on the Grainger website, as well as Grainger branded brochures and literature available to all of the Grainger sellers on the Rowe-Thrush SharePoint site. So the next slide, Tom, again, if I put myself in the shoes of a Grainger seller, who should I talk to, and what are some of the key questions that I should ask my customer?
Yes. So always equate this because a lot of times the sales guys, we're dealing with the purchasing agent a lot, and we get so in tune to, so-and-so may have it $1 cheaper, 50 cents cheaper. And typically that's their job. So when I equate a purchasing agent versus a safety manager, I said, are you interested in picking up the pennies, or are you interested in picking up the dollars? And typically when you answer that question, the safety guys are looking at the dollars, and then the purchasing agent's looking at the pennies. So I certainly like to start with the safety coordinator, because again, with the statistics we've given you and the talking points on the OSHA violations, you're going to resonate with those guys. And so how do you make the best of that resonation? And you take it again and again, so many people think about the gloom and doom when you hear about the incidents and you hear about the fines, and that's certainly out there. However, it's the simple things that these guys are doing on a daily basis that is causing them compliance issue. It's the leaning of the ladders, it's going to the top steps, and it's the training aspect. And that's the other thing too. If your employees aren't trained, why not? That's one of the very first things I ask them, is why aren't they trained? And a lot of times they just simply don't know. And then of course you offer the service to them. Hey, let me help you with that. So now you're becoming helpful to them. Instead of being fine, you're taking that fine away from them. The next thing would be, hey, when's the last time you inspected your ladders? I think you'd be surprised at the answer to that. Very few people are going to say we look at them every time before each use. It doesn't happen very often. There are a handful of them out there. Some guys will say, hey, we bring them all in quarterly and we do it. And while that's better than most, that's still not the answer you should be looking for. So again, it's more of awareness than anything else to save them types of money. And then of course, have you looked at how you're using the ladders? Do you have the right ladder to begin with? Those are the types of questions that you need to be looking at, and those are the people you need to be talking to.
Yeah, that's really the first question that gets asked on the Louisville Ladder website, right? Is, what do you need to ask yourself to choose the right ladder? And there's even a selection guide on the Louisville Ladder website that will drill down to the specific model number that would be best for your application.
That's correct.
All right. So we touched on some of these key products, but the next 3 slides get into a little bit more detail about some really differentiated features and benefits, as well as it lists some of the current Grainger item numbers that are available on the Grainger website. Is there anything that you'd like to call out or expand on?
Yeah, so we won't rehash everything, but there are a couple of things I want to highlight. The first being the high vis green. Anything you see with high vis green from Louisville Ladder will mean it's okay to lean. We say if it's green, it's okay to lean. That's our tagline for that particular product. So it gives you something if you're out on a site and you see a guy leaning a ladder, because the ladders do look close to each other when especially pointed out in the previous pictures. The biggest difference is when you see that high vis green, you can see it from way across the job site and say, okay, that guy's compliant with that particular product. The next thing I want to show, and this is actually a good picture of it, is one of the biggest issues with incidents on ladders is simply overreaching guys. A guy will have his ladder set up and he needs that extra foot. So what's he do? He leans out, and then next thing you know, the ladder kicks out and he's on the ground. And again, that's one of the biggest proponents with ladders themselves is overreaching. So if you look at the construction, and I had Mark show it a little bit earlier on the 4-footer, and this is a better picture of it on the 6. I want you to see how that ladder's constructed. A typical step ladder will have the rear leg. It will come up all the way underneath the top cap. And then you're going to see in the picture on the very far right where that rear leg comes and attaches to the front. Okay. So if you can simulate that leg going to the top of the cap, what is it doing? It's changing the profile of what I'm going to call the footprint. Okay. So it's going to change the angle of that footprint. It's going to make it larger. So if you look at this picture on the far right, where that guy's got if he was on a traditional step ladder, he's going to be another 8 to 10 inches off the wall. So right now he's standing on top of that wall. If he's another 8 or 10 inches, what's going to happen? He's going to be more apt to overreach. He may have to reposition his ladder. So we're bringing the work surface a lot closer to him, which is very important from the overreaching aspect. And that was on the previous slide too. It showed everything that we had talked about, but this is really a better visual for us when you're looking in the overreaching. Okay. So on this one here, it's the platform ladder, as we discussed. I went into discussion on the job site earlier in how they will only allow this particular product. What's really interesting about this here is we're going to talk a little bit about contact, because when I talk about platform ladders, a lot of times people will ask me about maintaining 3 points of contact. If you look at the gentleman working in the picture, you're going to notice he's got his feet, he's got his waist against that ladder. So he's got 2 points, but not 3 points, because it is a OSHA statement that says, when climbing and when descending a ladder, you must maintain 3 points of ladder. Once you're in a working position, you can do exactly as this gentleman's doing and still be code compliant. But it's kind of a play on word, Mark, where they say when climbing and when descending, you have to have 3 points of contact. And what's really nice about this particular one here is you've got the oversized platform. You can see he's centered up on that ladder, a lot more comfortable, less fatigue, as you had mentioned earlier. And you just have a lot more comfort level instead of working off a 3.5-inch step and feeling uncomfortable on that particular product. If you haven't climbed a platform ladder, it is night and day different as far as your comfort level goes. I can't really explain it outside of it's just almost like a sixth sense. So
yeah, it's very different between a 3-inch rail that's hitting you right in the ball of your foot versus a 15 by 24 platform that's basically like similar to standing on the floor. Huge difference. Now, two other differences in the HD series from the previous platform is the longer extended handrail, right? And then the larger platform. So the HD series has a slightly bigger platform than the previous slide.
That's correct. And Mark, you had mentioned the actual handrail itself, where you're going to notice this is actually a good shot where that tool tray and the work platform's hitting him right at waist level. Okay, so he's got his tools and everything right there. They're right there. The other one has got a tool platform that's going to hit him about mid-thigh. So the difference is if one is wearing a tool belt versus not wearing a tool belt, on the ladders. Okay, so if he's wearing a tool belt and it hits him in his thighs, he's got a lot more access to his tool belt. This particular one, if this gentleman is wearing a tool belt, as you could see from the picture, it'd be hard for him to access that tool belt. That's why we make it in both ways.
Great. All right. And then the final product family is the new Cross Pinnacle, which really had its launch at the Granger show recently. We didn't get to show it to the sales force prior because of the virtual shows. Yes.
It had its debut, as Mark said, at the Granger show. This is really a cool ladder. You heard me talk a lot about platform ladders. We had a lot of focus on that and compliance issues. And then you heard me talk a lot about the cross step ladder, because those two ladders themselves are what's impacting the traditional step ladder. So we took the cross step ladder and we took the platform ladder and we crossbred them. And this is what you're going to get out of it. You're going to have a leaning platform ladder. So you can see the visuals. You're going to notice the picture. Actually, we'll go to that very first picture, and you've got the guy on the right and the left. So the guy on the left, he's using it as a traditional platform ladder. And then you're going to notice him on the right-hand side using it as a leaning platform ladder. So we talked about how close you can get to your work surface, guys, you're not going to be able to get any closer to your work surface than using a leaning platform ladder. You can see he is on top of that wall in all these instances. So chances for overreaching are really diminished in these. Just great visuals when you see this product. But it's a leaning platform ladder. This is the only one that's on the market, and it's pretty slick. And
yeah,
then
sorry, Tom.
I was just going to say the platform folds up flat when it's not in use, so it will stack easy for storage.
Yeah, the really innovative thing to me is that, it's an HD series ladder, which means it's got that 375 pound capacity. And that platform, when you look at it, you wouldn't think that it has that load capacity, but it does, and it holds up well.
Yeah, so when you look at the ladder itself, yes, you're absolutely right. That's rated at the platform, and as you can see in the picture on the right, there's not a whole lot of support that comes down to the ground. It's all in the bracing in that particular product, but it is 375 pounds there. And for those of you guys who were at the show, you were able to see that we had it very prominent in the booth, and you could climb that ladder, and it's just certainly a nice product. It's a very good complement to the Grainger offering.
Absolutely agree. All right, so let's get into the Climb Academy. We've touched on it a few times prior. Now we can get into it in more detail.
Yeah, so before I get into it in detail, I want to kind of give a couple of stories. And one of them, we had a dry run yesterday, and I ran through with one of Mark's counterparts, and he suggested I reference this story. But I had actually come into a training in Chicago, and it was a 1 million square foot facility. And I was actually working with a Grainger seller. I will let them remain nameless at this time. However, it's the only place I've ever been thrown out of. And the reason for that is they were a union house. And when we were doing a ladder inspection, just about every ladder that we had inspected was being red tagged, meaning it's coming out of service. And guys, when I do a ladder inspection, I'm very, very liberal, meaning if there's something small, I will let them know and say, hey, this is a judgment call from the OSHA inspector. So, I'm not looking just to red tag every single ladder, but these ladders, they had major things wrong with the ladders. They were dangerous. And what made them dangerous was this particular account. They would put the ladder, you heard me mention it was a 1 million square foot facility. They would actually put the ladder on the back of a tow cart, and they would drag it around the facility on the concrete. So the backs of the ladders literally looked like somebody had taken a 4-inch grinder and ground the legs and the shoes off of these products. So they were very dangerous. And but I got thrown out because they said I was going to bring this union facility to a halt. So we got thrown out of there. But that was one interesting thing that we were doing. And then the other one I'm going to mention was actually another account that was in food processing, and they had a big issue with labels, as we had discussed earlier. In what they did every day, they had to clean the ladders. Again, it was food processing and bacterial issues and concerns. So they would put a caustic material on the ladders, and then they would pressure wash them. Well, you can imagine what a pressure washer and a label will do, or what a pressure washer will do to a label. It actually blasts them off. So there was some real issues there. So we were able to come up with a solution to help them with their labeling issue that would save them thousands of dollars upon the annual usage. I mean, just having somebody label ladders, when you've got hundreds of ladders, the compliance issues that they have was a truly a tremendous issue. So we were able to solve both of these projects, and both of these on behalf of Grainger's from Solution Selling. And Market led right into the Climb. And I'm going to touch a little bit more about the Climb. You heard me mention the TIA acronym earlier: train, inspect, and assess. The Climb is simply another one. So it's listed here. So guys, because it uses Louisville Ladder, It's not a sales presentation. It's not because you have Louisville Ladder, you can do this, that, or the other thing. It simply is very, very generic in nature. It's going to go over working heights, working capacities, duty ratings, things of that nature. But the acronym is simply, choose the right ladder, fiberglass versus aluminum, working height. Look, it's going to go a little bit over the inspection process and what to look for. Implement, it's going to show you how to set one up safely, whether it's an extension ladder and extending it past a roof line or tying it off around an open door. Move, you heard me mention the 3 points of contact earlier. I'm not going to beat that one down anymore. And then the last is be a safety expert, not a statistic, and it's going to kind of go over some applications of do's and don'ts as well. It's very generic. What is really nice about this program here is you guys heard me talking about ladder inspections, and I think this kind of gets overlooked a little bit, is a lot of times people don't know what to look for during the ladder inspection. This program has got inspection forms on it for both step and extension ladders, and you don't have to be trained in any way, shape, or form to do a ladder inspection. Guys, this is just visuals, missing steps, cracked rivets, cracked fiberglass, missing labels. It's very, very generic in nature. We're not stress testing any ladders or anything along those lines. It's all visual. So
so it's a 36-page student handbook. It also includes a facilitator handbook, right? So kind of a train the trainer option to do it at your own pace internally with your staff. And then there's also a DVD that has 4 separate videos. So it just covers, to Tom's point, the fundamental principles of step ladders, extension ladders, and other climbing equipment. To request one of these hard kits be sent, all we need is an email with ship to information for your customer, and we'll send those out free of charge. Also important to note that they're available digitally as well. So we've got PDF versions of the handbook, and the videos are also on the Louisville Ladder website, and I believe our YouTube channel.
Yes, they are. The main thing about these, we just want to make sure that everybody knows that they are readily accessible, because we actually have OSHA trainers that use these programs as well, Mark, for their 10-hour recertification and their classes that they give. Again, it does use my product, but it's not a sales presentation. It is very basic information, and we want to make sure that it's readily available, because a lot of times people always like to think too, when you talk about ladder safety, that you have to actually fall from 20 or 30 feet to be hurt. And a lot of it's just awareness. And I always, whenever I do a safety presentation, I tell a story that hits close to home. I actually have a very good friend. We were at a church retreat one weekend, and he gets a phone call, and the call was his dad was on the way to the hospital. He had fallen off his ladder, and he gets a call a little bit later. His dad had passed. And, of course, when I first heard it, I was like, well, what's your dad doing on the ladder? Because he was so old, he had no business being on one. But the bottom line is he didn't fall from 20 or 30 foot. He actually missed a step coming off the very last step on the ladder. So you're talking 6 inches off the ground. He hits, loses his balance, hit his head, and died subsequently. And that's a ladder accident. So I always tell that story, that you don't have to fall a great height to be hurt or killed on an accident. But I won't ever forget that story. And I can't help but think my friend of mine is actually probably reminded of that, because he knows I've been selling ladders for so long.
Yeah, that's another crazy story. And it just solidifies that you can fall even when you're not doing something wrong necessarily when you're climbing on a ladder. So
yeah, Mark, I see a question that come in. One of them was just to make sure that I had mentioned this, and the average claim, it was highlighted in one of the slides, and I don't know if I mentioned it by dollar. I know I said they were costly earlier. but the average claim, guys, is $80,000 for a ladder incident. And again, that comes from the Department of Labor and Statistics. But that's a huge number when you talk about that, this compliance issues. How many ladders could you buy for $80,000? It's a lot. So.
Yeah. So you're dealing with workers' comp claims. You're dealing with employees being out of work, and then you're probably dealing with fines as well.
That's absolutely true.
So it's just a domino effect. It's pretty
once
wild.
the claim opens up, you know that OSHA will be on that site.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So the final slide here shows the contact information for the 3 individuals on today's episode. If you need more information or sales support, please do not hesitate to reach out to any one of us. We are here to help and more than willing and able to help. So again, please take down this information and contact us if you need any information or sales support. I will throw out one last call for questions from the audience. Looks like James has one. What's your favorite movie and why? So that's something something he typically asks. Yep.
I would probably have to say I love baseball, so it would have to either be The Sandlot or the other one, which was had the Cornfields, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Yes.
So,
all right. I actually have another question here. Does Louisville Ladder offer custom logo capabilities?
That is a great answer. I didn't go into specifics on this, but the short answer is yes. And when I spoke about the compliance issue on labels, this was a chicken processing customer. So one of the things that we actually did for them was we put a permanent label on their ladder that stated the poundage of that ladder. And it could be simply 300 pounds is all it was, but they could pressure wash all they wanted and not blast that label off. So to answer your question, absolutely. And it is a success story that we have within Grainger Sellers to help build upon it.
Are the logo locks heat stamped into the railing, Tom?
Yes, it's not a label process. It is not a sticker of any sort. It is done on finished goods, but it is a heat process, Mark. The best way for me to describe it is if you go to a T-shirt or to the mall and you see the T-shirt presses, it's got all the different designs on the wall, and then you pick whatever number and they stick it on the shirt. It's very similar. You would basically pick what you want to put on that ladder, and it's a heat process. It heats the rail up, and then when it cools, it's in the pigment is in that rail. Yeah. So
yeah, I know we had 6 to 8 examples of the logo lock in our booth at the Grainger show a few weeks back. A lot of airlines, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of custom logos. Customers, airlines do it. You can imagine. I mean, a lot of us have been to the airport, and you see out on the tarmac, you've got American, you've got Delta. Ladders on the tarmac are free game, so they get mixed matched out there. So a lot of the airlines will put their names on ladders, to help prevent them going elsewhere. Same thing with contractors on job sites; they'll do the same thing. So that process, it adds a little cost. It adds a little lead time to your products because it is a custom made product, but it is a very beneficial tool. Helps prevent theft. And it's a good way to put your brand in front of somebody too.
Well, and as you mentioned, we've got proven success stories as well working with Grainger. So we get the logo from the customer, we create a custom part number that gets quoted through Grainger sourcing, and then they can buy the volume that they need, through Grainger sourcing. All right. Yeah. Any other questions? Going once, going twice, sold. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Before I sign off, I just want to let everybody know that the next live stream interview will be next Friday, March 25th, and we'll feature Samantha and Laura from Polar Tech Industries. Polar Tech offers temperature safe packaging, insulated containers, cold packs for multiple applications. So please be sure to join us for that. Anything else from you guys?
I don't believe so here.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody joining.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Mark.
guys for
Have a
joining
great
us today.
weekend.
Take care. Thanks.
Have a good one.